Walima, and I'm sure many of us came here in the spirit of that great man, Julius Nyerere. Asante Sana, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, YBO. Can we please give him another round of applause? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You have been a great audience so far. Thank you, YBO, for reminding us why we are here. Thank you, for the charge to lend our voice, unite our voice, and change the narrative for the continent. So going on really quickly, I'd like to invite the President and CEO of Global Alliance for Public Relations and Communication Management. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause for Justin Green. Can we please keep the applause coming? If you are still online, we can see you. Thank you for joining us. Welcome, Justin.
She's a lot taller than I am. Good morning. When I heard the minister was coming this morning, I thought I'd better learn some Swahili. So in the last few minutes, I've been looking up my phone to find some Swahili. So please forgive me, Minister, if I pronounce it wrong. But mambo. I can't hear you. Poa. Ah, okay. Mimi Mzungu Mzuri. Marafiki Zango. Okay, good morning, everyone. On behalf of Global Alliance, representing over 320,000 practitioners and academics across 120 countries around the world, I am delighted to be here today. After 3 long years, APRA is back. We are back together again, united as one. Congratulations to everyone here today and to everyone involved in the organising committee. You and Africa are leading our profession by setting an example for the rest of the world here today. Trust, truth, diversity, equality and justice for all. From the UN to your own living room. Never before has public relations and communications been more important. For over 15 years, I have supported and been involved with the African communications profession. But more importantly, I have learned so much from all of you. I am truly honoured to join you here today, along with fellow Global Alliance members, Botswana, Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda, Kenya, Malawi, Rwanda, South Africa, and of course, One Africa. I can't hear you, you're supposed to say APRA, One Africa. Right, okay, 2021 saw the biggest single growth ever in the history of Global Alliance in terms of services and benefits, worth over €2 million offered to our global members free of charge. I would strongly encourage you to visit globalalliance.org to assess the library of over 250 presentations and educational resources, international reports, communication tools and services along with theme months that include Ethics Month, Global Trends and Communications Month, Transformation Month, Diversity, Equality and Inclusion, Education and Training, World PR and Communication Month, Health and Wellbeing, and Student and Young Practitioner Month to help you expand your knowledge and continue your professional development, all free of charge to you. Now, before I finish up, I have a very important role to undertake. And before I wish you well for the rest of the conference, I'd like to do something that has been put together by, there is one person in the room who stands for African public relations. He is the African Union of PR. And that man is Yomi. And for years, please stand up, Yomi. So, you can stay there for now. Just keep standing. So let me tell you about this man. This man has fought for African public relations, not just in the continent of Africa, but right around the globe. And he has shouted and voiced his opinion. Many people have tried to shut him down, but we hear him loud and clear. He has been heard right around the world. And last week, together with the UK, Spain, Portugal, New Zealand, Ireland, Finland, Indonesia, Turkey, Brazil, the Philippines, Canada, Malaysia, India, USA, Puerto Rico, Kenya, China, Germany, and Peru all took a decision to award this man the Global Icon PR Award. This is the first time ever that this award has been presented to any African. And just to let you know what it says, I'll say YBO, I call him YBO. So it says, Sir YBO, in grateful recognition for your enduring commitment and visionary guidance in unifying the public relations and communications profession worldwide. Okay? So it's the worldwide profession are granting this global honor. And this is only the second time it's ever been presented. So what I'd like to do is, I think it's only appropriate that the minister might present the trophy to YOB, if you don't mind. I think it would be a great, great honor. And this is an Outstanding Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh.
Do you want to move in front?
Yes, let's join him. Let's go. This is to Africa.
Now, Yomi didn't know anything about that whatsoever, and I kept it quiet, and my apologies if I went over my time. Thank you very much. Have a great conference, and God bless all.
Thank you so much, Justin. I think that was such a great recognition. Can we please put our hands together again for YBO? Thank you, YBO, for leading. Thank you for raising your voice. Thank you for fighting for the practice to be recognized globally. I think two things I forgot to mention really quickly about Justin is that Justin is very African. And secondly, I also think that Justin should be giving an African name. So can I just leave that to you? So please find, are we going to give him a Tanzanian name, a South African name? Who's going to go first? So I'm going to leave that with Kenyan. Someone said Kenyan, so I think we'll go with Kenyan. At the end of the conference, we'll find out Justin's Kenyan name. So moving right along, to introduce the next speaker, I'd like to call on Mr. James Bawana. Mr. James Bawana is representing Ambassador Joseph Sukone, who's the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Mr. James Bawana, can you please put your hands together for him? Thank you so much.
Honorable Kundo Andrea Matthew, the Deputy Minister for Information, Communication and Information Technology of the United Republic of Tanzania, and our guest of honor, Mr. Gerson Msigwa, the government chief spokesperson, Mr. Segun Ogunsanya, Group Chief Executive Officer and the Managing Director of Airtel Africa PLC, Mr. Justin Green, CEO for the Global Alliance for Public Relations, Mr. Yomi Badejo Okusanya, President of the African Public Relations Association, Mr. Asa Mwambene, President of the Public Relations Society of Tanzania, all presidents of national public relations societies present here today, distinguished directors and heads of institutions, delegates, members of the press, all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Allow me to begin by thanking the Almighty God for affording us this precious opportunity to meet with our brothers and sisters from the various parts of the African continent and beyond. For our distinguished invited guests and delegates coming out of Tanzania, on behalf of the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation, allow me to welcome you all to the United Republic of Tanzania, and here in Dar es Salaam in particular. I'm sure our international guests will find time in your busy schedules to enjoy the beauty and hospitality of Tanzania throughout your brief stay with us. In a very special way, I wish to thank the African Public Relations Associations for choosing Tanzania to be the host of this year's annual conference. Honorable guests of honor, I wish to thank you for accepting our invitation to grace this auspicious continental gathering, despite your very tight schedule. Actually, my role today is very simple. It's just to warm up the microphone and invite you to speak with this global audience in front of you. However, before coming or asking you to come to the podium, please allow me to shed some light on the notable milestones of the sixth phase government of the United Republic of Tanzania in building strong structures and infrastructure aimed at enhancing public access to information and in strengthening the communication units and departments in the government of the United Republic of Tanzania. Honorable guests of honor, ladies and gentlemen, in Tanzania, we have guidelines for communication professionals. The tool is made to stipulate and guide the work of public relations and communication practitioners. Every year, practitioners are afforded the opportunities to participate in an annual forum of Public Relations Society of Tanzania, PRST, which bring together public relations and communication practitioners from the government and private sector alike, organized by the Tanzania Government Communicators Association in collaboration with the Ministry of Information, Communication and Information Technology, in a way that will bring positive impact to our various development endeavors. It is sheer truth that in this competitive and ever-changing world, we really need the public relations professionals than ever before due to the potential multiple roles that they always play in all sectors. Therefore, it is our expectation that this conference will come up with various solutions to challenges, if any, facing this noble profession in Africa. As Africans, we need to rebrand ourselves and make sure that our continent continues to shine globally. Now, with these few words, allow me now to invite to the podium Honorable Kundo Andrea Matthew, who is also a Member of Parliament and the Deputy Minister for Information, Communication and Information Technology, who is also our guest of honor, to speak with the audience. Karibu sana, Honorable Deputy Minister, and thank you very much for listening to me.
APRA. One Africa,
You are so many and your voice is very low. APRA. One Africa. Thank you very much. The beauty of Africa is our unity. There are so many untold beautiful stories about Africa. The real story of Africa, except the Africa themselves. And we are Africans who should stand for Africa. And the Africa itself is the people who believes in the unity. And we are united as one continent. Within the continent, we are so many countries with many presidents, different government officials, but we come together regardless of our differences in the backgrounds, but we stand as Africa. Differences in the backgrounds, but we stand as Africa. And we believe from our founders' fathers who brought this Africa to understand each other, to learn from each other, and to accept each other, because that is the only thing that can put us together forever. Ambassador James Bwana, the representative of the Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation, Mr. Justin Green, President and CEO of Global Alliance for Public Relations, Mr. Yomi Badejo Okusanya, President of African Public Relations Association, Mr. Asa Andrew Mwambene, President of Public Relations Society of Tanzania, National President of the Public Relations Society of Africa, distinguished directors and head of institutions, member of the press, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Nawasalimu kwa jina la Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. One of the speaker, he said after he heard that the deputy minister is coming, he tried to learn some Swahili. And this is one of them. Nakusalimu kwa jina la Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania. Just say, kazi iendelee. That's great. That is Africa. First of all, I would like to thank Almighty God for all of us to be able to travel all the way to Dar es Salaam in Tanzania and meet here today, being in good health. May I take this opportunity to welcome you all to the beautiful and peaceful country. I wish to extend my heartfelt appreciation for inviting Honorable Nape Moses Nnauye, the Minister of Information and Communication and Information Technology, to be the guest of honor at the opening ceremony of the 33rd African Public Relations Association APRA Summit. Honorable Nnauye wished to have been here today, but due to unavoidable responsibility, he could not make it here. Instead, he directed me to represent him in this event. May I regard the greeting from the minister to you all. Dear brothers and sisters, I wish to thank the African Public Relations Association, APRA, for giving Tanzania the honor to host this year's historic annual summit. I'm sure that you will find the United Republic of Tanzania not only an ideal destination for your conference, but also a perfect place to explore a brilliant opportunity ranging from seeing some world-class tourism attractions like Zanzibar, Mount Kilimanjaro, Serengeti, and Ngorongoro as an ideal place for investment and settling down. From time of immemorial, Tanzania has always been a home for those who are peaceful, who desire a peaceful environment. Dear brothers and sisters, for many of you coming from countries like Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, Rwanda, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Zambia, Namibia, and so on. You should endeavor to visit the loyal roots of your freedom struggle, because most of the freedom fighter training camps were in the region near Dar es Salaam. Tanzania has been home for many famous African freedom fighters, including the President of Mozambique, His Excellency Samuel Machel, and His Excellency Armando Guebuza, as well as the first President of Frelimo, Dr. Eduardo Mondrani, who died in the bomb blast in 1969 in Tanzania. Other current President of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, Zimbabwe former President His Excellency Robert Mugabe, and Namibia former President Dr. Sam Njoma. Congo freedom fighter Kempu in Dodoma also trained freedom fighter from Angola and Zimbabwe. Dear brothers and sisters, for those who from South Africa, Mazimbu and Dakawa in Morogoro were the major base for Umkoto Wasizwe military base, while the others were being trained in Ngagao, Iringa. I know I'm bombarding you with these historical facts that might not interest you, but as sons and daughters of Africa, you need to understand some of the historical facts that shaped our current bilateral and multilateral relations, and appreciate the sacrifice of our forefathers in bringing about a formidable Africa we have today. Formation of institutions like Southern Africa Development Community SADC and East African Community did not come by accident, but rather rooted on the past shared moment that saw Tanzania as the headquarters of what started off as diplomatic coalition of independent frontline states to headquarters of the Organization of the United of African Union, OAU, Liberation Committee. Dear brothers and sisters, as I noted from the outset, we are very delighted to host this important gathering from professional public relations practitioners across the continent. I'm sure your attendance will revitalize public relations practice in Tanzania and enhance the capacity of the Public Relations Department and the unit to communicate effectively about Tanzania and Africa at large. I have been attracted by conference theme, Africa Resilience and Global Competitiveness. The challenge of public relations, but also a slogan, One Africa. We really need to have very competitive Africa. We are blessed with everything important. Yes, we need to see Africa compete in the global market. Distinguished delegates, the challenge to Tanzania and most of African countries is what extent communication and public relations practitioners understand the value and the law vested upon them toward African success. To what extent the communication and the public relations experts have played their role to make one Africa which is competitive. What is the role of institutions like APRA and the PRST in Tanzania in ensuring the national public relations practitioners fulfill their obligation to strategically communicate the best aspect of Africa? To what extent public relations help in bringing new investors? How public relations in Africa will help to reshape the continent image? What public relations has failed to brand our good Africa? The answer is you. You have a great job to do to make sure that we answer all these questions. I would be praised if of this challenge shall form a part of important issue to deliberate upon in your 5 days that you will be here. So at the end of your summit, we should begin to see some fundamental changes in terms of how, as a public relations expert, carry out these noble duties. You are the spokesperson of this continent. To what extent have you fulfilled this role? Do we have something to showcase or display in terms of how we have helped to rebrand and to rebuild the image of Africa. As think tank, public relations practitioner, have the law to make Africa more competitive globally. We have beautiful natural resources, fertile land, and skilled labor, all this needed to attract investment. Public relations practitioner need to use your skills to rebrand our countries in the global market. Please, leaders. I wish also to restate the government commitment to working and cooperating with a public relations practitioner in advancing our development agenda. Communication is an important ingredient of any development process. Again, I want to thank the Public Relations Society of Tanzania, PRST, for making APRA Tanzania a big success. We will need a report on what has been discussed and agreed so we can work on them cooperatively. In concluding, let me once again say and thank the APRA for inviting Honorable Napi Moses Nnauye, the Minister for Information, Communication, and Information Technology, to be with you here today. I wish you all the best in this summit. I look forward to having more summits from APRA in Tanzania. Having said those remarks, I have to wish you all the best of luck in whatever you're going to discuss. Before I say, I have to convey the greeting from Her Excellency, President of the United Republic of Tanzania. She acknowledged that the work is done by APRA is remarkable. So let's make sure that all this recognition from our excellence comes to action. It's now my singular honor to declare that the 33rd April Summit is officially open. One Africa, one Africa. Thank you for attention. Asanteni sana. Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for the charge that you have made to us as spokespersons of the continent in your words. You have charged us to showcase the beauty and value that the continent has. You have charged us to lead the rest of the continent in delivering this. So can you turn to your neighbor and say, lead us? Lead us, yes, because this is a charge we've been left with. Lead us, lead us. So thank you so much. May I also thank Ambassador James Bawana, who gave the pre-welcome address as well. So ladies and gentlemen, we will be running really quickly, but before we do this, you'll agree with me that 2020 was quite a harrowing year. I think amongst us, we lost friends, we lost family. It was quite a tough year, but I think in all of it, we're still grateful that the continent is standing. We're still grateful that the continent wasn't as hard hit as so many people had predicted. Amongst us, we did lose a few of our friends and a few of our colleagues and would like to respectfully recognize them today. Media, can we have the pictures of our friends and family who we lost over time? Thanks.
To me,
please respectfully rise up for a moment's silence. May the souls of the faithful departed rest in peace. Please sit down. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being a great, great audience, even much better than I experienced with the virtual event last year. We have lost a bit of time, and we're going to try to make up for it. I repeat this often because there are people who are joining us online, and you agree that a hybrid event, very easy set, but can be difficult because this is us experiencing, it very closely, and this is people online, not having as close as experience as we're doing. So we are going to run ahead and make sure that we keep this balance. And I'm going to go right straight into inviting our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker, who YBO had mentioned earlier, is represented by the Vice President of Corporate Communications for Airtel International, who also used to be a colleague of mine. And right before I invite him, I would like to just very briefly touch on who Segun Ogunsoya is. He's the Managing Director and CEO of the Nigerian subsidiary for over 80 years in South Africa. That would be a bit too elderly, agreed? But otherwise, please give me another round of applause. Welcome, Emeka. Nice to see you.
I'll have to lower this microphone. Kiru is too tall. Wow. You're going to permit me to stand on already established protocols, but I must recognize Her Excellency, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, ably represented by the Honorable Deputy Minister for ICT. I'm calling him out because the ICT Ministry in Tanzania has been a very, very supportive ally of Airtel in Tanzania. Please put your hands together for them. Talking about Africa Rising, telecommunications has been a very powerful tool to drive that fast rise. And Tanzania is witnessing a very wonderful revolution in ICT. Secondly, I would like to call out my brother and my friend, the President of APRA, YBO, Yomi Badejo Ogunsoya, who has very ably led this association for a very long time. Yomi and I come a long way back from Nigeria, and I must say up front that he is the PR consultant for Airtel in Nigeria, and during my time in Nigeria, we had a fantastic relationship. Thank you very much, Yomi. Let me begin by speaking for myself before I start speaking for Dr. Segun Ogunsoya. This is actually my first time in Tanzania. Therefore, I thank APRA for giving me the opportunity to come and experience this very wonderful city. I can't speak any word yet. I haven't eaten any local food yet, but I'm going to do tonight. And so when I finish eating the food, trust me, I'll speak the language. All right. So, Mr. Ogunsoya happens to be in the US at this moment, and he's asked me, say, Emeka, since you're one of them, go and talk to them. And I think it's a privilege for me to be here to speak to APRA. And maybe I should start by talking about Airtel Africa, which operates in 14 countries, East, Central, and West Africa, providing telecom services, and now seriously moving into financial inclusion through our Airtel Money. Telecommunications, by the way, plays a very horizontal role, as we say, because it provides the hangars for the verticals in growing economies, be it Africa or be it Europe. So Airtel is at the forefront of the effort to try and reposition Africa. So Dr. Ogunsoya says, I would like to say that Airtel Africa is a practical example of resilience and competitiveness. From nowhere 10 years ago, we have become one of the most profitable businesses in Africa. We are listed on the London Stock Exchange and Nigeria Stock Exchange, and recently became a FTSE 100 company. We would rather describe as a dark continent. Africa is not a dark continent. And this is a narrative that is hitting APRA in the face, and APRA has its job cut out already to begin to address some of this with the power that we have in our hands. We have probably one of the fastest growing fintech industries in the world today. Africa is growing rapidly. In fact, the fintech industry in Africa is valued around about 80 to 100 billion US dollars. I'm talking about US dollars. Fintech in Africa. Move from fintech, you come to music. Any mall you go around the world, every shop you go, what you hear now is African music. You go to parties in the UK, in the US, dance to Africa. All the skits you see on Instagram and TikTok, they're all African music. Those people who think we're no good are dancing to our music. So we have the power in our hands. So what is the problem? And that's the question that everybody always asks. What is the problem? Why are we so blessed, yet things are the way they are? Now, I think it's not important for us to go into the whys. There's a joke. It's a very foreign, very silly joke, but I'll still tell that joke. And that joke is that when the leaders of the world went to see God, and the leaders from other countries, we are complaining to God to say, God, why did you bless Africa so much? You blessed Nigeria, you blessed Tanzania, you blessed Zimbabwe, you blessed them with natural resources, they have everything. And God said to them, wait until you see the leaders I'm going to put there. To be honest with you, the problem that we have in this part of the world is the problem of leadership. And it is not why we are here. Why we are here is what can we do? How has APRA influenced leadership in Africa? How has APRA changed the narrative of Africa? What has APRA done? Now, it's okay, and by the way, the starting point for this is coming together. The idea of coming together to highlight this topic is a good start. It's a good way to begin to put in the consciousness of Africans that we need to change our story. That's number one. But we need to reimagine the image of Africa. There's a Nigerian called Dr. Kolade, Christopher Kolade. At a time when he was a High Commissioner of Nigeria to the UK, he said something very remarkable. He said, people are always talking about Africans or about Nigerians as bad people. We are talking about a continent of well over 1 billion people, and we have probably 1 million criminals. How can the rest of us allow very significant percentage to define us? That's what the issue is. So Africa is not about terrorism. Africa is not about hunger. Africa is not about poverty. Africa is not necessarily about poor infrastructure. Things are happening. So APRA now needs to set the agenda. In setting the agenda, well, APRA will have to challenge leadership. There's a tendency for most of us to sit back on the sidelines and complain. Sometimes you wonder how many public relations people are in government across Africa. How many of them are playing significant roles? Because if you stand outside, you can't define what happened. If you go inside, perhaps you could do something. So today, one of the messages to APRA is that APRA members should take their skills into government. Don't stay outside and be writing articles and be producing jingles and managing people's images. Go into government and take your skills there and go and advise the government. In some cases, or in most cases, you find out that the ministers for information, the ministers for whatever, those positions are not public relations people. And because they are not, you will have to then come from outside to brief them. Go in there and change the story. That's charge number one. The second charge is, I'm not sure there's anyone else properly positioned, better positioned than APRA, than PR people, to tell a very favorable story about Africa. So APRA, being a continental body, should now develop an alliance, and I like the choice of that word, alliance, global alliance, develop an alliance with the African Union. You need to engage the African Union at the strategic level to start thinking about how to reposition Africa globally. I remember somebody said earlier, I can't remember, that African leaders go as a group to go and talk to countries. That demeans Africa. These are countries. So Africa Public Relations Association should develop a strategy for the AU to manage the reputation of Africa, to tell a compelling, beautiful story about Africa. However, charity must begin at home, because that's really where the tire hits the road. You cannot possibly go out there to tell somebody that you are good, when indeed your approach is not good. So we need to begin to reposition Africa in Africa. There is a very good story, or there are very good stories about Africa. All the media are available for us to use to engage Africans themselves at home. If you fly out of Africa on your way to Europe, you see how some of our brothers and sisters behave on the aircraft. As soon as they arrive Europe or they arrive America, they change. They start behaving very well, and you begin to wonder, these are the same people who are jumping the traffic, the red light, who are shunting the queues, who are behaving paranormally. But as soon as they get into that environment, their whole mindset changes. It's environmental. So we need to begin to address ourselves at a mind level. APRA has a God-given role to help us do this. The fourth thing APRA has to do will be to engage Africans in the diaspora. There are successful Africans in the diaspora with very positive stories, doing great things in the US, in the UK, and all that. It's about time we engage them to start thinking home. Africans in the diaspora must start thinking home, to start bringing ideas, to start bringing their expertise back home to change their motherland, Africa. I had said earlier, APRA members must get involved in politics. Let me spell it out. Must get involved in politics and change the tonality, the processes, the procedures, the way politics is done, and the way politicians deliver on the promises they make the electorates. We are people who tell stories. We mirror the image, working with the media. APRA members should get involved in politics seriously so that we can change the narrative. Now, I'm sure some of us know about Al Jazeera, the advent or the birth of Al Jazeera was basically born out of the narrative coming from Europe and America to the Middle East. So each time you saw somebody wearing a headscarf, you see him immediately as a terrorist. That's the image that was created. And that's the image they have tried to create about Africans. Whenever you see a black guy going, say, the guy is going to steal you, he's going to snatch your bag, he's going to do this, watch him, he will jump the red light. So they will have an opportunity to use television, to use the internet, to use social media, to repackage Africa. So if there is nothing that comes out of this workshop, it must be a plan to help Africa, to help African countries reimagine the image of Africa, tell a more compelling story, a more positive story, highlight all the good parts of Africa, and make Africa look like what the telecoms industry is doing in Africa today. Trust me, the enabler telecommunication has provided for Africa has been amazing. And I'm talking about 25 years only, and Africa has gotten to the point where it is that you can start transactions from home, finish, buy everything, shop, do, students learn. Now, if you come back to the pandemic and talking about resilience, Africa survived the pandemic basically by the grace of God. I don't think we did anything. We didn't do anything. We are lucky. That's why B.O. said God just was kind to us. And the reason people were thinking the way we are thinking, and some of us were also thinking that way, was because we felt like we lacked the infrastructure to take care of COVID if it hit us that bad. So we need to also start challenging the government. I'm not saying we should fight the government. We need to start challenging the government of the day to begin to invest more significant resources in infrastructure. I moved to Dubai 3 months ago, just 3 months ago. And for the first 1 week, every morning and every evening, I stood by my window and I look out at Dubai Media City. And instead of being happy, I actually feel like crying. You're so beautiful. It's amazing. The lights don't go off. The streets are clean. I see them at 11 o'clock hoovering the street. And you look at all those tall buildings. And Dubai 25 years ago was going around Africa looking for money. Today, most Africans are taking money from here and going to Dubai and buying properties and investing in Dubai. They offer you tax-free employment. We work in Dubai, we don't pay tax, but you spend the money in Dubai. So the point is, Africa has the capacity, Africa has the potential. We have the human resources, we have the natural resources. Now the job is to conscientize our people, and APRA has this job clearly within their remit to develop a plan and work with the AU to see how we can raise Africa, to change the image, to get our people to start thinking Africa, to get our people to start working for Africa. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that's the message I was given to give to APRA today, and I hope you all have a wonderful time in Tanzania. So I can say to you now, Karibu. Let me raise the microphone.
Thank you, Emeka. Can we please give Emeka another round of applause? Emeka gave us a charge that I'd like to put back at him. He said to us to increase our influence. He said to us to be the watchdog for the consciences of our leaders. He kind of inferred to us when he gave the illustration about Al Jazeera that Africa needs a microphone. That was my deduction from what he said. Emeka then challenged us and said we cannot sit in our corners and increase our influence, that we must join government. And therefore, Emeka, I'm giving you just 2 years in Dubai. We'll be looking to see you in government. Please write that down. Can we please give him another round of applause? Thank you so much. Thank you for being an amazing audience. The last applause for yourself. And if you are in the virtual platform, we're also cheering you on. Would like to run along, just so we're respectful of everyone's time, even more so those online. We will be going straight into the panel session. This panel will be discussing our theme today. The theme of this conference, and I'd like to call in no particular order. I would like to call Richard Kayambo, who is the Director of Taxpayer Education, Tanzania Revenue Authority. Can we please give him a big round of applause? Welcome, Mr. Kayambo, if you're here. We look forward to receiving. Can we please keep the applause coming until he gets to his seat? Yes, please sit. Thank you. May I also please call the President of the Public Relations Society of Tanzania. Can we please give a round of applause to Mr. Asa Wambene? Yes, how can I help you, sir? Okay, all right, thank you. Great, and I will then like to call on the last person for the panel, who is the president of the of APRA himself, Mr. Yomi Badejo Kusoya. Can we please give him a round of applause? So I've just been made to understand that the Honorable Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Information and Communications and Information Technology will be leaving us shortly. Thank you Yes, could you please just come forward for a photo op, sir? And may we please also have Robin de Villiers, our Vice President for APRA. Thank you so much, Robin, as you walk forward for this very important photography session. Okay. You know, I was just thinking about why I love conferences, and I hope that when I meet you outside, you would tell me why you love conferences. You know, I love conferences because it's one of my shortest cuts, if there's any language like that, to learning. So I'm sitting here and this nugget falls on my laps, and you know, I either build on this nugget or I lean in or I go to research further. So I find conferences very helpful because now I'm learning really quickly. I think, to quote Strive Masiyiwa, who is one of the big-time philanthropists on the continent and a leading businessman, he says, if you are working or running a business, you have to set aside time and money to invest in continued learning. I believe APRA is one of our own investment of time and money in our continued learning. So thank you and well done to everyone who has paid for himself to be here. Well done to your organization who has paid for you to be here. May I applaud everyone who has come forward for the photographs as we run really quickly onto the panel. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. It's a true pleasure and honor to host you. May we please give Mr. Minister a round of applause. Thank you so much. I would like us to very quickly run into the panel session. May I ask that Mr. Richard Kayombo be seated? YBO, may I ask that you are seated? Oh, great, that's fine. May I please ask that Mr. Asa Wambene please also come forward and be seated. I mean, there's also one African proverb that I like. It says to us that knowledge is like a garden. If it is not cultivated, it cannot be harvested. Knowledge is like a garden. If it's not cultivated, it cannot be harvested. So I think it is saying to each one of us, what are you cultivating? What are you cultivating in your garden? I say to people, never has it been easier to learn. Never has it been easier to learn. You are learning on social media, you know, you're learning on YouTube, you're learning, you know, all of the learning tools and channels are just all right on your fingertips. So like Strive Masiyiwa says, it is so important whether you work, whether you run a business, whether you keep a 9 to 5, it is so important that you make time to invest in your own learning and growing. Invest in your own learning and growing. So I've told you one of the reasons that I like conferences. I haven't told you that the second piece is that I love meeting people. My job, thankfully, takes me to about 18 countries on the continent, and I love meeting people. I like everything about us, our culture, our language interference, just literally everything. So today, ladies and gentlemen, join me as I moderate the panel that speaks to our theme, Africa's Resilience and Global Competitiveness. Mr. President, I'm going to ask that you open the session, and then we'll go right through to the end of the panel. Thanks. The President of the Africa Public Relations Association of Africa. So please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Can I have volume on this microphone? Thank you.
Media, maybe have volume, please.
I gave you Mazi today, but everybody knows Igwe Emeka Okpara. And a lot of the things that we've talked here that he charged us with, we already have discussed before. The truth of the matter is that Africa must make itself competitive, very competitive. And you've said so many things that we need to test. I was saying to, I believe, maybe the president of PRST yesterday, the World Cup is coming in October. That is a global platform. The whole world will be glued to their televisions during that period. How prepared is Africa for shaping its narrative through the global mundial. The truth of the matter is that many governments in Africa expect them. APRA has on several occasions tried to engage the African Union to see that there is a conscious and deliberate effort at marketing Africa. Let me use that word, at marketing Africa. And somehow or the other, we still have not been able to deliver on that. The synergy with the African Union, there's still significant gap. The second thing I'll talk about is with us practitioners ourselves. And I mentioned it during the course of my welcome address. PR needs PR. And I call it affirmative PR. Until we, as public relations practitioners, learn to sell our value to our principals, people will still price us badly. Now, Mecca was speaking about Dubai. Wonderful places. And many of us have been there, or at least with any of the big shops. When you go there, you go to the high street, and you see Louis Vuitton, you see Cartier, you see Rolex. You know, just name any of the big brands. The major thing is the presentation of the brand. When you look at them, the same thing in my country, if you throw the clothes on the ground, and in my country we call it bend down, you will price it differently because of the medium by which it is presented. Very important. And that is the reason we, at the discussion with the undergraduates yesterday, they asked us a question: what is the difference between media relations and public relations? Because a lot of people still believe that the beginning and end of public relations is media relations. And that's completely wrong. That's why, with due respect to journalists in the House, that is why journalists are taking our jobs. Prefer solution to other our principals and our clients who are not able to do it for ourselves. Let me stop here with this word, or with this charge to all African public relations practitioners. Physician, heal thyself.
Thank you so much, Mr.
You can
President.
clap now. Clap now.
Please, can you give him a round of applause? Thank you. I would leave the messages and share them much later. But can we please hear from you, Mr. Nwabene?
Thank you, Mr. President. I think Africa is already resilient. The only thing that Africa lacks is how we rebrand or brand ourselves. I was watching a video clip showing the US opening an embassy, reopening an embassy in Ukraine. Everybody knows that Ukraine is in fire. But the fact that the US, and I've never, by the way, I've never seen the US doing a lot of grand reception for opening a small embassy like in Ukraine. But the fact that they are showing us is that Ukraine is in fire, but US is opening opening an embassy. That means they are branding that we, the powers, we are already in Ukraine, apart from the atrocities and the problems that are happening in Ukraine. So the second aspect is, in Africa, we talk so much about conflicts, and we forgot that even our own families, we have problems, but things must move. So we only need to take an inch to move, to ensure that whatever little good things that we have, we amplify, the messages are amplified, because literally we have everything that takes Africa to move forward. We have literally everything, but we really need to refocus and redefine our destiny in terms of looking at what are so important for us. And as my brother Igwe from Nigeria said here, we have only one, by the way, you are the only one, apart from Emeka, that we only need to refocus and see to what extent we as public relation practitioners take a leading role in these challenges, that we know how best to say. We know the best time to say it. And we know the philosophy that needs us to say the right thing at the right time. And until we do that, and until the role is vested upon the public relation practitioners, we are going to be the drivers of the changes that Africa needs to have. And besides the drive, Africa has almost everything. Look at, again, I like using the example of Ukraine. Russia has the biofuel, the gas that moves all over Europe. And, you know, the NATO and most of the European countries give a lot of sanctions against Russia for what is happening in Ukraine. We have in Africa, we have gas. This is what made Russia today survive of the reserve that they have and that they supply to Europe. Apart from the sanctions, already Russia is reaping a lot of money, and in the Russian currency. So what is it that can bar Africa from regenerating and using its resources to turn around the continent into prosperity? What is it? If it is skills, one of the best skilled Africans, some of the companies in Europe, America, what is it that we are lacking? Virtually, we are lacking nothing. We have everything. We need to step ahead and say, this is Africa we want, and we must devise a strategy to achieve that, you know, something that we really needed to have. Talking about problems will never end. But the other thing that we need really to consider, I've done a scan of all conflict in Africa. All conflict in Africa, with exception to what happened in Libya. All of them are locally made. It's a civil strife. Go to Burundi, go to DRC, go to Sierra Leone, go to Lesotho, go to Comoro, go to Somalia, go to Zimbabwe, but then, and go to Angola. All these major conflicts emanate from civil strife. So most of these nations doubles expenditure in the military rather than investing into the people. So the current catchword in global arena, people so much about human security, and human security is something that emboldens the investment into the people, so that people within countries cannot rally around against their own government. So unless Africa changes that trajectory in terms of investing so much into infrastructure and into things that providing for these Africans, Africa will continue indulging itself in the conflicts. I think let me end up there. I may have a comment later on.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Wabane. We will come back to you. May we please hear from you, Mr. Kayombo? Just your quick thoughts on Africa's resilience and global competitiveness, and then we'll go around with the comments and questions.
Yeah, thank you. throughout my career life, I worked with some bosses who came from outside Tanzania and outside Africa. The first time they come in, probably they have a dark picture of Tanzania or Africa as a whole. But what surprises me is that by the time they finish their contracts, they don't want to leave Tanzania. And I was wondering why. There could be so many examples. What I'm trying to say here is that there's something so good that we have in Africa that we are only not packaging well and selling to the world. I was going through the population of various continents, and I saw Africa is like 1.3 billion. And I looked at India, I looked at China, and I think apart from China and India, there's no other continent that beats us in terms of population. And when I look at the successes of China in terms of their growth, they will always tell you one of their success factors is their population, because when they produce, first of all, their population alone is enough to consume what they produce. And then I looked at other aspects, looking at the various countries that come to Africa to get our resources, to go and produce goods, and then those goods come back to Africa. And we buy them at very high prices. And then I was asking myself, what are we not doing right? We have the population, we have the resources, and we've been told, even our population, we have a young generation. So what are we not doing right? And that's what's making us sit here today. And I think what we're not doing right is that we are not packaging Africa very well. And that's what we should do as practitioners in public relations. We need to get what is good about Africa and say it so well so that people can understand, either come and invest here, come and enjoy it, and we generate revenue for our continent, mobilize resources for our continent, and also attract people to come and enjoy all the good things that we have in Africa. Talking about this topic, this reminds me of my sales and marketing lessons way back a couple of years ago, where one of the lecturers told us, we're teaching you to sell and market so that you can sell a fridge to an Eskimo. Can you imagine how difficult it is to sell a fridge to an Eskimo? What will you say to the Eskimo? That I'm selling the fridge to do what? It is very difficult. But I think Africa will reach a situation where we're like an Eskimo. We have a lot to offer. It's only how we say it, how we promote it, how we deliver it, and how we portray those good things to the rest of the world so that Africa can be a better place. There's one thing I like about Nigerians. When you go to any country, you'll find there's a Nigerian somewhere. And one nice thing about Nigerians, can I have a show of hands by some Nigerians here? One nice thing I like about Nigerians is when they find a fellow African in trouble, they do not, when you're outside the world, they do not ask where you're coming from first. They first sort you out and help you out of that trouble, and then later on they ask you, where do you come from, brother? I'm giving this example, and I've always said this to so many people that I meet around the world, that the Nigerians are showing us a good example that we need to unite in everything that we do to be able to portray what Africa is. Short of that, we may have all the good things. If we don't work together, we don't unite, we don't speak one voice, we don't defend each other, it's a waste of time. So, APR is the platform through which we can do that. And as rightly said, we can sell through this to the AU platform and then get our voices heard beyond the African continent. Let me stop here for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Kayambo. Thank you for those examples. I'd said to everyone here earlier, using Strive Masiyiwa's quote about being deliberate in investing in your learning. And I also said to you that one of the shortest forms is, via the conferences, such as this. But I'll go straight into the question. I've seen a few common themes come through. I've heard Mr. Mwabene say to us that we need an upper hand. and he gave the illustration of Russia, who has shown his upper hand by the gas that they supply. I've heard YBO say to us, about, having a platform, about packaging, about putting ourselves forward in a different way, in a way that is appealing. Yes, he made that point. And most recently, we just heard, from Mr. Kayambo, who spoke again about packaging. And therefore, my question is really about how do we create standards that are appealing? I ask this because there are products that are as powerful as some of the brands that YBO had mentioned, but when you put them side to side in the open market, they're not the preferred products. I'll take something as little as bags that are being produced. There's an amazing bag producer in South Africa, same in Nigeria and many other places. This particular lady, I see her skin bag at the airport. Now she's pricing about 2,500 rands, and Louis Vuitton, who has that type of bag, is pricing as $10,000. So I think is, what do we do, one, to create the right standards, and what are the practical ways in which we can pitch in that way globally competitive? Happy for anyone in the panel to please take that. How can we create standards? That's one question. And how can we pitch, how can we pitch ourselves in that way that is globally competitive? Remembering that this famous bag I talked about is perhaps only just known within South Africa, but it is a great product.
Let me chip in. I think. Let me chip in. I think in terms of standards, I would say it in two ways. On the one side, public relation itself is a profession, so it has standards, which I have no doubt whether when it comes to how best doing it, we have rules and modalities on how best to handle it. But if you're talking in terms of a product itself, first I want to assure you, Africa is not the fragile product that we talk about. They are in marketing and branding, they are products, we call them fragile, meaning that if you mishandle, it's likely to fall down and you won't have it. So Africa is not, unfortunately, or fortunately, Africa is not one of it. So we wouldn't even waste a lot of time of trying to find the mind to rebrand and see how best we can sell Africa. But okay, let's assume it is fragile. It takes little efforts because look here, in Europe, if I've stayed in London, place maybe I know better, London, US, and India. If you are in London, there are some of the best supermarkets that's products, and one of the brands that they talk about natural products. So it's like organic, everything organic. In Africa, not even an issue that we produce is organic. So if you're in Europe, organic is the catchword, and the price is so big. It's big. So we really have to struggle for trying to even market and brand Africa in terms of looking at. So if you say you have authentic product from Africa, you are talking about organic because you can produce maize, organic maize from Africa, from anywhere in Africa, because of the natural environment and because of the ingredients, the inputs that you put in to have the maize come to the market. This is avocado, everything from Africa. So you don't need any efforts. If you talking in terms of industrial products, that's where a bit possibly we need to tap. Technology is already here. Africa is embracing the technology better than many other Western countries at the moment. So there is nothing that can also bar Africa from embracing and getting the best technology in terms of production. And in so doing, we'll just be making Africa, which is a natural has a natural detergent, natural farming products,
Right.
and everything natural. And therefore, we can penetrate the international market by simply just using the word in any you said in Europe. Just say it isn't from Africa. People will understand it is organic. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to let YBO speak on that particular question, and then I'll circle back into you.
Okay. My take is that there's nothing called African standard, or there shouldn't be. So take, for instance, there's something we all joke with. We say African time.
I hate it.
So we call a meeting for 9, and because we believe it's Africa, we can saunter in at 10 o'clock or 11, and you say it's African time. So if Africa wants to compete globally, it must have global standards. And global standards are universal.
Correct.
So what applies anywhere else, because what we're saying here is that whatever we need to produce here, or what we produce here, must be the same quality as what we produce there. But I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to talk about 3 R's that can make sure that we align with standards. One is regulation.
Right.
Our business, our practices must be well regulated. Where there's no law, there's no offense. And so we must have minimum standard of what, what can be produced, what can be dealt with. Whether it's education, whether it's health care, whether it's social welfare, whatever, whether it's infrastructure, everything we produce must be at a certain standard. Number 2, I will talk about research.
Right.
And research has to be extensive. This is something we do not invest a lot in Africa. Most of the statistics we have in Africa is given to us by multilateral agencies because we are not spending enough money on and in research.
Right.
If you ask governments in Africa how much have they dedicated to feedback, you will find out that, it is very insignificant. And then the last one is revelation.
Right.
And what I mean by revelation is I take together the communication, the marketing. In short, how do you present your product? So you see, when you go into Heathrow Airport, one of the first signs you will see, at least I know Terminal 5, I believe, and perhaps Terminal 3, is a sign of GT Bank. GT Bank is one of the leading banks in Nigeria. Now, I'm sure that it's not necessarily because they want to get money from the UK, but because they want to build a global brand, they believe they must be in certain places. Watching CNN, even here in Tanzania, you realize that it covers, and there are some brands that are out of, let me say, Nigeria, that are running commercials on CNN. To many, they will think it's a waste. But it's about building a competitive global brand.
Right.
So, revelation is key. Again, regulation, research, and revelation. And the interesting thing is that of the 3, public relation controls 2. Public relation controls research, and they control revelation, if they cannot control regulation. So, really, do we see, is a glass half full or half empty?
Thank you so much. Can we give him a round of applause? And we are going to take 2 questions from, actually 3, and very quickly. Taye, I'm not sure if you have a microphone. We'll take one from here, and one from there, and that would be all. But really quickly, I would like to go right up to Mr. Kayombo, and I just want to ask this question a little differently, only because YBO mentioned it, Emeka mentioned it. I've kind of heard that theme flying around. How do you think we can practically take hold of the microphone as a continent? We speak often about changing the narrative. We say it in the morning, afternoon, evening. How do you think we can practically take charge of the microphone? And I'll give you a quick example to buttress my question. After all of the, I'm not going to call them pre-nominations because they were data-driven, but after all of the comments came about how Africa is going to experience the pandemic, do you remember? I think some of the comments said there'll be bodies on the roads, you know, and obviously data-driven from where, you know, they sat. No one responded from Africa, or did someone respond and I didn't see it? Did anyone get a collective response? So I think is how do we take charge of, practically take charge of the microphone? How do we hold the microphone and tell our own stories as a continent?
Yeah. Let me try this one. It's okay. Okay. Responding to the question that you just raised, I think the reason why nobody responded probably is because we didn't have a common platform through which we can raise our voices. And if you recall, when in my previous discussion, I said, we first of all need to put ourselves together through a common platform, but also understand or take stock of what we have. I can assure you, each of us in Africa have different approaches on different things. And in so doing, that makes one country different from the other in how they handle certain things. So we need to have a common platform, take stock of what we have. Let me just give an example. There are so many countries in Africa that have gold. There are so many countries in Africa that have oil. There are so many countries in Africa that have fresh water resources. And there are so many, you can count so many, but we still depend on other nations for our livelihood, which is not a very good thing. If, say for instance, taking an example of oil alone, if all oil-producing countries in Africa came together, think of Libya, Algeria, Angola, I think Cameroon, Central Africa, if I'm not mistaken, all the other oil-producing countries in Africa, if they all came together, spoke as one voice, put up a strategy, and we had probably pipelines running across Africa, we wouldn't be having issues of oil crisis taking place around us. When it comes to the medical area, if we put our hands together, somebody said that we have some of the best doctors from our continent working in developed countries. If we put all these countries came together, had one voice, we would sell our gold to the rest of the world in a better organized way. If we talked one language or through one voice, we could talk to investors across the world to come and invest in Africa, produce from Africa, just the way most of the multinationals moved to China to produce from China, and now China looks like the world's biggest exporter of everything. Just to let you know, if you look at most of the big brands, and to your surprise, some of those things are produced in Africa. And some of them are produced in Tanzania, for your information. We need to put our hands together and see how we can, as I said earlier, we can package Africa, make Africa a place where everybody wants to come and invest, everybody wants to come and live. In so doing, we'll get the money from all those investments, have employment for our youth, and everybody, when they're employed, will have money flowing in all our countries, and we'll have one Africa. So what I'm saying, we need to unite, we need to speak one voice, we need to strategize together so that we can move on. Thank you.
much. Can we please give him a round of applause? Okay, he's been, I'm going to go to Emeka. Let me just let him go. Please tell us your name, where you come from, and then go to the question.
Good morning. My name is Austin Makani. I believe I'm audible enough. I'm from Tanzania, Public Relations Society of Tanzania. I'm contemplating on the theme, and I'm happy and so honored that we have Yomi and Asa and another expert on the panel. I'll go straight to my question. When I'm contemplating on the theme, I'm wondering Africa resilience and global competitiveness. And the first thing that resonates in my head is, who are we competing with? We feed the world. Africa is feeding the world, that's no doubt. We feed global or world machineries. They take all the raw materials from Africa. We play in their football clubs, yeah? We decorate the world with our beautiful and attractive tourism. I was in Brighton a couple of years ago, and for the first time in my life, I experienced the Stony Beach. Stony Beach, okay? This is nowhere in Africa. The medicine, they take the raw materials from Africa. The brains, these are all from Africa. C-section was discovered in Africa. Traffic lights, all from Africa. We have the athletes, great men, the likes of Obama, all originating from Africa. Yet we say APRA, One Africa, but I'm still wondering, who do we want to compete with? Allow me to cite a few examples from my country, Tanzania. The tallest standalone mountain in the world is in Tanzania. Out of question. The tallest standalone mountain in the world is in Tanzania. The best lime to make cement is from Tanzania. The best cassava that binds up the peel, the medicine peel, is from Tanzania. Not to mention the best grapes that make the best wine in the world, not to mention Tanzanite. The Queen is celebrating 70 years on throne this coming week. The jewelry on a crown is from Tanzania, that's Tanzanite. I can go on and on, the list is just, you know, the organic cocoa is from Tanzania, organic cotton is from Tanzania, and I'm talking about the best.
I'm going to have to let you arrive.
Yeah,
because we've had lots of ministers and executives selling Tanzania to us, and we are super sold. So we're just going to need you to arrive very quickly so we can go around the hall.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
my question is, when we speak about competitiveness,
right.
who are we really actually competing with? Who do we want to compete with? And for me, rather the panelists can tell me, probably what we need to discuss is not who are we competing with, but rather how should we compete so that all this stuff that we're talking about, all this, I'm not bragging, all this stuff that we're talking about can actually be able to transform the lives of Africans. When we say One Africa, why do we even conduct APRA in English? Why not, you know, one of the African languages?
Right.
Why not Kiswahili?
Right.
You know? So for me, as I'm looking onto the global competitiveness, the president has spoken about Heathrow Airport. Why don't we speak about Ethiopia?
Right.
You know, why don't we speak about Kenya?
Okay.
Why don't we speak about ATC, Kenya Airways or Ethiopian Airlines? So probably the panelists can guide us. When we want to stand competitively, we need to really be proud of our own brands and actually make them stand out there. Now, for them is to respond the how. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that very important question. Can we please give him a round of applause? Thank you. I'm going to hold that, take a question from Emeka, go to the last mile, and then hand right over to the panelist. Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Nkiru. Mine isn't very so much of a question. He almost pushed me into responding to him. But now I speak as Emeka. I'm no longer speaking as Segun Ogunsanya. So nobody should credit my comments to him, please. Now this is me talking. We have the mountains. We have the farms. We have the elephants. We have the climate. People rush to Africa to enjoy our weather. Ask yourself, and that's what I was having this conversation with YBO. If COVID hit Africa, as they said, it would have been a calamity. The reason, to answer your question, why nobody responded to all of those conspiracy theories, if you will, but we had no answer. We had no plan. There was absolutely nothing. No PPE was produced from Africa. No medication was produced from Africa. And being sincere, let's be frank to ourselves. So the point is this. Public relations actually deals on truth. That's what I'm told. It's not about packaging. It's about telling the truth. We need to tell ourselves the home truth.
Right.
We are not punching at weight. God has blessed us. But these are all raw materials. We need to add value to them. You cannot be competitive when you cannot add value. So they will come here, they will take our oil from Nigeria, they will ship it to Europe, they will bring it back to Nigeria,
and then export
it. Pay a premium. They will take our cocoa, they will take it to Europe, they will make chocolate, they will bring it back, pay a premium. Public relations, as I said, we need to tell our leaders, we need to tell our people, you can't be proud of having mountains and animals. I personally it doesn't mean anything to me. If you can't add value to it, by the way, slave trade or slavery could not have succeeded if Africa was not a fertile ground for slavery. They were already doing slave trade in Africa. Check it out. They were selling their relatives before those guys came and took. So my point, we cannot sell a bad product. We must begin. This charity has to start from home. APRA should engage the governments of Africa. Let's say we should engage AU or the various countries. Let's begin to fix our roads. Let's begin to fix our minds. Let's begin to fix our health sector. The amount of money that travels out of Africa to India on medical tourism is unbelievable. There they go to save lives. Here they come to see animals and beaches.
Right.
So let's just be very practical and plan for this competitiveness. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Emeka. Can we give him a round of applause? So create value and talk about the value. And it speaks to Mr. Mabene's point about Russia and what they can do with the gas currently, even amidst the war. May I hear from you, sir? Yes, please. Isn't there any lady with a comment, a view, a question? Yes, because, yes, ma'am. We'll come back to you. Let's just finish. Yes. Yes, please, sir.
Okay.
Your name, where you come from?
My name is Chinedu Achusi.
Right.
Fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. I'm from Nigeria.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, the panelists. I want to say that in my place, just as Emeka said, charity begins at home. And APRA motto is One Africa.
Yes.
Are we One Africa? I want to throw a challenge to the public relations of Tanzania, Society of Tanzania, to do a post-mortem about your visa process. It's very important. When we are talking about Africa, we should be maybe United States of Africa, where he takes us association member in Tanzania immigration. So please look into that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the comment. We will go to your name, please, and where you come from. Yes.
Greetings to all. My name is Safia Mohammed Adamu. I'm from Nigeria. I agree almost totally with Emeka, but I have my comment also just to add to that. I think what is actually missing in the in our development of a public relations of youth who do not even know Africa, and we are not making them interested in experiencing those gaps in being able to actually play its role and responsibility. And one example is, I was a former chair of an editorial board of a national newspaper. You see, when you put PR and journalists side by side, we're talking about two different people.
Correct.
Unfortunately, the government personnel go for the journalists. You know why? They are cheap. They are cheap. They don't know the job. Sorry, apology to any. No, I don't even owe you apology. You need to educate yourselves. They are cheap, and they are willing to go for crumbs in the name of being the government spokesperson. You cannot have a columnist or a journalist for a spokesperson. He thinks it's an attack dog. You need a public,
Right.
and by bringing out facts. You have countries where you have the information minister who knows next to nothing about public image.
Right.
And what you have is a whole population of almost 200 million people thinking your government is not doing research.
Mhm.
The APRA, public relations in every country, we need to go deeper than just image building.
Right.
And include it in our services. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Can we give her a round of applause? I think that we are pressured for time, but thankfully we still have only one question and 3 comments. And I apologize, sir. I'm going to be gender biased. Can I just for good balance, can I just give the last microphone to the lady? May you please tell us your name, where you're from, and then just before you do that, because we only have one question, I'm just going to allow one person respond to that and just make it your final remarks. We are pressed for time. Thank you. Yes, please.
My name is Sepiso Zimba from Zambia. I'm from the Zambia Public Relations Association.
Right, nice to see you.
I think this is a very interesting conversation to have, and I feel we have so many isolated voices. For Africa to be effective, we need to speak with one voice, and not just one person here, one person there, one person here, one person there speaking. You have said we need to change the narrative. How do we change the narrative? It's by getting buy-in. Stakeholder buy-in from different perspectives, both at the lower levels and at the high levels. I'm happy APRA is engaging the AU at that level, but at the end of the day, I feel it needs to be a collaborative approach where literally everyone is taken on board,
Right.
and we all speak the same language, so that when one person is making noise this side, the noise is heard across all the spheres.
Right.
So that when we're speaking, if there's one person in South Africa making noise, Zambia is making noise, Egypt is making noise, Kenya is making noise, Tanzania is making noise. I was just chatting with my president here. One of the key areas is through the national associations. If our national associations
Correct.
are weak, we'll all be weak.
Correct, I agree.
If the national associations are strong,
Deserves a round of applause, actually. Yes, yes.
if the national associations are strong, you'll find that we'll have a vibrant voice. I'll give you a very typical example of Zambia Public Relations Association. We have gathered so much momentum, such that when we speak about an issue, our ministry is listening. It has even gotten the ears of our own president.
Wow.
So if the associations are strong, you find that we'll get the ears of the influential. We'll be able to drive agendas
that's
that
how
people
you
will
create
say, guys,
influence.
let's buy into what these people are saying.
Correct.
But it also takes us to take up leadership amongst ourselves as PR person. As somebody said, let's not wait to be invited at the table. We ourselves should be the table. That when people hear what we are saying, they should say, I want to do what this person is
Correct.
saying.
Please
so
give her a round
I
of
think we really
applause.
have so much to do as ourselves, and just see how we can just make that happen.
Correct. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Very valuable comment. I'd like to just hand over to Mr. President to please respond to the comment about competitiveness, and then make that a roundup. We are standing between everyone and lunch, and we have got people online who there's a first stop. Thanks.
Okay. Very, very importantly, I think she said something very fundamental. Colleagues, she said we must not be at the table. We must be the table.
Correct.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
We must not be at the table. You know, before we say we were outside, then we want to come to the table. We must be the table. Everything that is written must be written on us. If we are not, then nothing can be written. Is that what you're saying? Can we please give her a big round of applause?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm just going to correct one impression so that our hosts are not offended. Jedu, you talked about the visa. I think, in my own experience, Tanzania gave us perhaps the easiest process we have had so far, dealing with many countries. And I want us to please applaud them. The truth of the matter is that during the course of this conference, we got visa for some people in 2 hours. Am I right? 2 hours. Are you listening to me, Chinedu, please? In addition to that, we were able to process visas on the weekend when government offices had shut down. And I'm saying this so that we don't seem to offend our host, who did everything that they could to make sure that some of us are here. Some people called me on the way to the airport on Saturday that they've gotten their approval and they are here today because they gave them visa on approval, on arrival. I just thought I should say that so that we are not misled. Any other person? Can we round it up because of time?
YBO, you must please respond to just the comment very briefly, the question about competitiveness. Okay. Who are we really competing with? Should we be competing, or should it be continental, or, and that would be the last question, because we have a first stop. Yeah, I thought I had said that we are not competing against ourselves. Okay. We should compete against the world. Correct, okay. That's fine. What we should. It is a global stage. We must compete globally. Yeah. Thank you. Sirs, can I just ask that you do your farewells with your microphone, just your farewells, your thanks and your farewells. I'm not going to let you make any comment around visas because we say we've been well received and we are grateful for the hospitality. So just your farewells, please. Thank you.
I just want to say that as PRST, we are happy to receive any comment and work on any challenges that somebody feels that something happened. Okay. And I don't think it will be a crime also if I say that consular matters, consular and diplomatic matters have a very special ways of being handled. And in this case, we have something we call a balanced reciprocity or economic reciprocity. You do to me what I do to you. Right. And it's a balanced reciprocity. Correct. And if something happened to my colleague, I have to regret, but I just wanted to, we did the best to ensure that our friends from Nigeria especially, you know, have a soft landing in Tanzania, and this is our anticipation to other nations. But otherwise, if something happened to her, I would need to also partly understand. We take positive any comment, and we are a country that listen, and we will really want to listen. Please don't smash him away.
Thank you for the graciousness. Yes, sir.
Well, to wrap it up, I'd just like to thank all those who contributed to this topic. But I want to say, all that have been said, I think one good thing that we have is the issue of technology. I think when new technology comes, we enjoy the same just like everybody else in the world, especially the ICT technologies. And we should take advantage of that as one of the ways through which we can get our voices heard quickly. I'll just give a very small example. We have one young man, he's a Maasai guy. He has decided to do things in his own way. He does music, Indian music. How he started it, we don't know. But he has a lot of followers in India selling what he does from Tanzania. So just see how he's exporting his skills, and he's got so many friends in India, just like that. So we can use technology to expand on all that we are saying and get our voices heard so quickly, and also show what is on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the panel. May I request that you please give these gentlemen a big round of applause. Well done, gentlemen. We are so grateful. It has been such a quick way to gain knowledge. Remember what I said earlier. Thank you. Remember what I said earlier about gaining knowledge in the quickest way possible. I think just the last comment is we must have increased gender presence in this panel moving forward. Having said that, can you make room so I'm in the middle? This is a new world. May I please have the Vice President as well? Then we have a few announcements. Thank you so much. Thank you again. Just quick, very quick announcement. So, just to let you know that, bear with me. Everyone, it's lunchtime now. Only those with tags are to proceed upstairs. Those without tags, please proceed to the tea break area. If you are interested in going on the tour, please go to the registration and register so that they can plan accordingly. So important to remember to bring your passport data page to the registration stand. Otherwise, it is lunchtime, and I'd like to encourage you to return very early back from lunch. One of my favorite sessions in APA is when we have you know, the trust barometer. It tells us what's going on in different markets, how much we trust our governments, you know, what's happening in society. So really important session, the Edenmouth Trust Barometer. Is good data that you can take back to work and say, remember what I told you about easy learning. You go back to work to say, according to the Edelman data, the trust of X and X is low or it's high. So I'm going to encourage you to please return early because we're going to have a hard start. We have one presenter who's going to be online, and we do therefore need to be back early. So ladies and gentlemen, lunch is served. Media, can we please have Africa